The rain hammered against the windshield as Claire Donovan navigated her aging Honda Civic through the dark streets of Nashville. It was nearly midnight on a Thursday in late October, and the temperature had dropped significantly since her shift began at the Morning Brew Cafe 12 hours earlier. Her body ached with exhaustion, her feet throbbing from standing all day, but she couldn't afford to slow down. Between her father's medical bills from his battle with cancer 6 months ago and the mounting rent on her small apartment in East Nashville, working double shifts had become her reality. Claire was 28 years old. With shoulder-length auburn hair she usually kept tied back in a practical ponytail, and green eyes that still held traces of the dreams she'd once carried. She'd moved to Nashville 5 years ago with aspirations of making it in the music industry. But life had other plans. Her father's diagnosis had brought her back to harsh reality, and now, even after his passing, she was still drowning in the aftermath. The traffic light ahead turned yellow, and Claire pressed gently on the brakes. Her mind wandered to the stack of bills waiting on her kitchen counter. Hospital bills, credit card statements, past due notices. She'd been avoiding them for days, knowing that opening them would only confirm what she already knew. She was running out of time and options. The light turned red, and Claire came to a complete stop at the intersection of Broadway and 14th Avenue. The streets were relatively empty for Nashville, with only a few cars scattered around. She rubbed her tired eyes and glanced at the dashboard clock. 12:17 a.m. Her roommate, Jessica Park, would already be asleep. Jessica had been incredibly patient about Claire's late rent payments, but even that patience had limits. As Claire waited for the light to change, she noticed the reflection of headlights approaching fast in her rearview mirror. Too fast. Her heart began to race as she realized the car wasn't slowing down. She gripped the steering wheel, her breath catching in her throat. "No, no, no," she whispered. The impact came with brutal force. The SUV slammed into the back of her Honda at 40 miles per hour, sending her car careening forward into the intersection. Claire's world became a chaotic blur of screeching metal, shattering glass, and the deafening sound of the collision. Her car spun twice before another vehicle, unable to stop in time, struck the passenger side with a sickening crunch. Pain exploded through Claire's left leg as the door caved in, crushing it against the center console. She screamed, but the sound was lost in the chaos. Her head snapped forward despite the seatbelt, and then everything went black. When Claire regained consciousness, she was surrounded by flashing red and blue lights. Voices shouted around her, urgent and overlapping. The rain had intensified, and she could feel it on her face through what remained of her windshield. "Ma'am, can you hear me? What's your name?" A paramedic's face appeared above her, young and concerned, with kind brown eyes. "Claire," she managed to whisper. "Claire Donovan." "Okay, Claire, I'm Daniel Wright, and I'm going to take care of you. Can you tell me where it hurts?" "My leg," she gasped. "My left leg. I can't feel it properly." Daniel's expression grew more serious as he carefully assessed her condition. Another paramedic, an older woman with gray streaks in her dark hair, appeared on the other side of the car. "We need to get her out now, but carefully," the woman said. "Possible femoral fracture, maybe more. Get the equipment ready." The next 20 minutes were a haze of controlled chaos as the emergency crew worked to extract Claire from the wreckage. Every movement sent waves of agony through her leg, and she bit down on her lip to keep from screaming. She tasted blood and rain and fear. "Stay with us, Claire," Daniel kept saying. "You're doing great. Just a little longer." Finally, free from the twisted metal, Claire was carefully transferred to a stretcher. As they lifted her into the ambulance, she caught a glimpse of her car, or what was left of it. The Honda was completely destroyed, crumpled like a tin can. Tears mixed with the rain on her face as she realized just how close she'd come to dying. The ride to Vanderbilt University Medical Center was a blur of pain and medication. Daniel stayed by her side, monitoring her vitals and offering reassuring words she could barely process. All Claire could think about was her leg, which now felt like it was on fire despite the pain medication they'd administered. In the emergency room, the controlled chaos continued. Doctors and nurses moved around her with practiced efficiency, their voices clinical and focused. Dr. Raymond Foster, a tall man in his 50s with graying temples and steady hands, took charge of her case. "Ms. Donovan, I'm Dr. Foster. We're going to take you for X-rays and possibly a CT scan. From what I can see, you've sustained significant trauma to your left leg. We need to determine the extent of the damage before we can discuss treatment options." "I don't have insurance," Claire blurted out, panic rising through the pain. "I mean, I have some, but it's basic. I can't afford. I don't have money for surgery or—" Dr. Foster placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Right now, let's focus on understanding your injuries. We'll worry about the rest later. You're in good hands here." But Claire knew better. She'd watched her father go through this same dance of medical necessity versus financial reality. The hospital would treat her emergency condition, but anything beyond that, the surgery she likely needed, the rehabilitation, the physical therapy, all of that would come with bills she couldn't possibly pay. The imaging revealed what Dr. Foster had suspected. Claire had suffered a comminuted fracture of her left femur, meaning the bone had broken into multiple pieces. Additionally, her tibia was fractured, and there was significant soft tissue damage. Without proper surgical intervention and hardware implantation, she would face permanent mobility issues, possibly never walking normally again. Dr. Foster delivered the news in a quiet consultation room where they'd wheeled Claire after giving her stronger pain medication. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, and the antiseptic smell of the hospital made her nauseous. "Claire, I'm not going to sugarize this," Dr. Foster said, pulling up a chair beside her bed. "You need surgery, and you need it soon. We're talking about an open reduction internal fixation procedure. Essentially, we'll need to realign the bone fragments and secure them with metal plates and screws. Without this surgery, the bones won't heal properly. You could face chronic pain, limited mobility, possibly even bone infection." "How much?" Claire's voice was barely a whisper. Dr. Foster exchanged a glance with the nurse practitioner, Linda Hawkins, who stood nearby with Claire's chart. "With the surgery, hospital stay, anesthesia, and initial follow-up care, you're looking at somewhere between $60,000 and $80,000, Linda said gently. "Your insurance might cover a portion, but based on the information you provided, you'd still be responsible for a significant amount." Claire felt the room spin. $80,000. She didn't have $800. She couldn't even make rent this month. "What if I don't do the surgery?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. "Then we stabilize you as best we can, give you a cast, and send you home with crutches and pain medication," Dr. Foster replied honestly. "But Claire, I've been doing this for 26 years. Without that surgery, you're looking at a lifetime of complications. You're 28 years old. You deserve better than that." Tears streamed down Claire's face. "I don't have a choice. I can't pay for it. I'm already drowning in debt from my father's cancer treatment. He died 6 months ago, and I'm still paying off his bills. I work as a waitress. I barely make enough to survive as it is." Linda moved closer and took Claire's hand. "Let's not make any decisions tonight. You're going to be admitted for observation. We'll manage your pain, and tomorrow we can discuss options. Sometimes there are programs, charity care, payment plans. But Claire had been down this road before. Those programs had waiting lists, requirements, and limitations. The truth was simple and brutal. If you were poor in America, even your bones broke differently. That night, lying in a hospital bed on the orthopedic floor, Claire stared at the ceiling and tried to process the disaster her life had become. Her car was destroyed. Her leg was shattered. She'd miss work for weeks, maybe months. How would she pay rent? How would she buy food? The double shift wages she'd been counting on were gone. Jessica would be understanding for a while, but eventually, Claire would lose her apartment too. Her phone had survived the crash, though the screen was cracked. She scrolled through her limited contacts, wondering if there was anyone who could help. Her mother had passed away when Claire was 12. Her father was gone. She had a few friends from work, but they were all in the same financial situation she was. Jessica was already covering more than her share of expenses. Claire had never felt more alone. Around 3 in the morning, unable to sleep despite the pain medication, Claire heard a commotion in the hallway. Voices, movement, the sound of security personnel. She could hear snippets of conversation, something about a celebrity visit, a charity event, heightened security protocols. A nurse named Patricia Simmons entered to check Claire's vitals. A woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. "What's going on out there?" Claire asked. Patricia smiled. "Oh, we had a big charity gala downtown tonight for the children's wing. Some of the donors are making rounds, visiting patients. Security's just making sure everything stays calm and private. How's your pain level?" "About a 7, Claire admitted. "Let me get you something for that." As Patricia left, Claire closed her eyes and tried to imagine a world where she could afford the surgery, where she could walk again without pain, where she wasn't buried under a mountain of debt. It seemed as impossible as flying. She didn't know that down the hall. Someone who could change everything was about to walk into her life. The next morning arrived with pale autumn sunlight streaming through the hospital window. Claire had managed only a few hours of restless sleep, her dreams plagued by visions of twisted metal and mounting bills. The pain in her leg had settled into a constant, throbbing ache that the medication only dulled, never quite eliminated. Dr. Foster arrived during morning rounds with a team of residents trailing behind him. He examined Claire's leg, now heavily bandaged and immobilized, and reviewed her latest vitals. "How are you feeling this morning?" he asked. "Like I got hit by a truck," Claire replied, with a weak attempt at humor. "Which, I guess, is pretty accurate. Your X-rays confirm what we discussed yesterday. I really want to schedule you for surgery within the next 48 hours. The sooner we address these fractures, the better your long-term prognosis." He paused, his expression sympathetic. "I understand your financial concerns, Claire. I've asked our social services department to send someone up to discuss your options." An hour later, a woman from Patient Financial Services arrived. Her name was Helen Rodriguez, and she had the weary expression of someone who delivered bad news for a living. She sat beside Claire's bed with a folder full of forms and a tablet computer. "Let's go through your situation," Helen said gently. "I've pulled up your insurance information. You have a basic policy through the healthcare marketplace with a $10,000 deductible and 20% coinsurance after that." Claire's stomach dropped. "So, I'd owe the full $10,000 plus 20% of whatever comes after?" "In this case, yes. Based on Dr. Foster's surgical estimate, you're looking at approximately $24,000 to $28,000 out of pocket." The number hit Claire like another car crash. $28,000. She made about $26,000 a year as a waitress before taxes. "I can't pay that," Claire said flatly. "I have negative money. I'm in debt from my father's medical bills. I don't own anything of value." I don't have family who can help. Helen nodded sympathetically. Let's explore your options. There's a charity care program through the hospital, but it requires extensive documentation and has a lengthy approval process. You'd need to prove financial hardship, which shouldn't be difficult given your situation, but the earliest you might hear back would be 4 to 6 weeks. Dr. Foster said I need surgery in the next 2 days. I know. That's the challenge. Helen scrolled through her tablet. There are also medical credit programs, but given your current debt load, approval would be unlikely. Some surgeons work with payment plan companies, but those typically require a significant down payment. Feibuan. They talked for another 30 minutes, but every option led to the same dead end. Claire didn't have the money, couldn't get the money, and without the money, she wouldn't get the surgery that could save her ability to walk normally. After Helen left, Claire lay in bed and cried. Not the quiet tears from last night, but deep, body-shaking sobs that came from a place of complete despair. A nurse checked on her, offered kind words and tissues, but there was nothing anyone could do. This was the reality of being poor in America, where your health was a luxury you couldn't afford. Around 2 in the afternoon, Claire forced herself to stop crying. She needed to think practically. She'd have them stabilize her leg as best they could without surgery, get discharged, and figure out the rest later. Maybe she could work from a wheelchair at the cafe. Maybe she could find some kind of remote work. Maybe. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. The door opened, and Patricia, the nurse from last night, poked her head in. Claire, honey, you have a visitor. Is that okay? Claire frowned. Jessica was at work, and she couldn't think of anyone else who would visit. Who is it? Just someone who wanted to meet you. I think you'll want to say yes. Confused but too tired to argue, Claire nodded. What happened next would change her life forever. The woman who walked through the door was instantly recognizable, even in casual jeans and a simple blue sweater, her red hair pulled back in a ponytail. Reba McEntire moved with the quiet confidence of someone comfortable in any situation, but her eyes were warm and kind as they met Claire's shocked expression. "Hi there," Reba said, with her distinctive Oklahoma accent and that famous smile. "I hope I'm not intruding. I'm Reba." Claire's mouth opened and closed several times before any words came out. You're... Oh my God!" Reba laughed softly and approached the bed. "Mind if I sit?" "Please," Claire managed, still unable to believe what was happening. "I'm sorry. I'm Claire. Claire Donovan. I can't believe you're here." "Well, I've been visiting patients this morning after last night's charity event," Reba explained, settling into the chair beside the bed. "Patricia mentioned your situation, and something just told me I needed to come meet you. Tell me what happened, if you're comfortable sharing. And somehow, maybe because of the pain medication or the emotional exhaustion, or simply because Reba McEntire had a way of making people feel heard, Claire found herself telling the whole story. The car accident, the shattered leg, the impossible medical bills, her father's death, the debt, the fear, everything. Reba listened without interrupting, her expression empathetic and engaged. "My daddy worked construction his whole life," Claire said, wiping tears from her cheeks. "Never complained. Always provided. When he got sick, he tried to hide it from me because he didn't want me to worry. By the time I found out, the cancer was stage 4. I moved back home from my apartment downtown to take care of him. We fought so hard, tried every treatment, but nothing worked. He died owing over $100,000 in medical debt, and I inherited all of it. I've been working double shifts trying to pay it down, and now this happens." "What about your music?" Reba asked gently. Claire looked up, surprised. "How did you—" "Patricia mentioned you had a guitar case in your car. They retrieved your belongings from the wreck. Claire glanced at the corner of the room where a plastic bag held her few salvaged possessions, including her father's old Martin guitar, miraculously intact in its hard case. "I used to sing," Claire admitted. "That was actually why I moved to Nashville 5 years ago. I thought maybe I could make something of myself, but life got in the way. After Daddy got sick, music felt selfish somehow. And now," she gestured to her broken leg, "now it doesn't matter. I can't even afford to fix my leg, much less chase dreams." Reba was quiet for a long moment, studying Claire with an expression that was hard to read. Finally, she spoke. "Claire, I want to tell you a story. When I was starting out, I was broke. I mean, truly broke. Performing in small bars and honky-tonks, driving a beat-up car that broke down more than it ran. I had people tell me I'd never make it, that I should give up and get a real job. But there were also people along the way who helped me, who gave me a chance when they didn't have to, who believed in me when I couldn't quite believe in myself." She leaned forward, her gaze intense and sincere. "I've been blessed beyond measure in my life, and I believe that blessings are meant to be shared. What you're going through right now isn't fair, and it isn't right. You deserve to walk, to live without pain, to have a chance at your dreams." "I don't understand," Claire whispered. "I'm going to pay for your surgery," Reba said simply. "All of it. The surgery, the hospital stay, the physical therapy afterward, whatever you need. Consider it handled." Claire felt the room tilt. "What? No, I couldn't. That's too much. I can't accept that." "Yes, you can, and you will," Reba said firmly but kindly. "Claire, this isn't charity in the way you're thinking. This is one human being helping another. You've been through hell, and you've kept fighting. That takes strength. I can help remove one obstacle from your path, and I want to do that. Let me." Tears flooded Claire's eyes again. But these were different tears. "I don't know what to say. It's everything. You're saving my life." "Maybe," Reba smiled. "Or maybe I'm just giving you a chance to save it yourself. There is one condition, though." Claire's heart sank slightly. "What is it?" "I want you to promise me something. Once you're healed, once you're back on your feet, literally, I want you to pick up that guitar and give your music a real shot. Not because you owe me, but because you owe yourself. Deal?" Claire nodded, unable to speak through her tears. Reba stayed for another hour, talking about music and life and Nashville. She shared stories from her own career, the ups and downs, the hard times, and the breakthroughs. She talked about the importance of perseverance and the power of kindness. Before she left, she held Claire's hand and said a quiet prayer, her voice soft and genuine. "You're going to be okay," Reba assured her. "Better than okay. I can feel it." After Reba left, Patricia returned to check on Claire. "She's something special, isn't she?" "I can't believe that just happened," Claire said, still in shock. "Did that really happen?" "It really did. And before you ask, she's already spoken with administration. Your surgery is scheduled for tomorrow morning. Dr. Foster is thrilled. He said you're getting one of the best orthopedic surgeons in the state." That night, Claire lay in bed processing the impossible reality. A stranger, not even a stranger, but one of the most famous country singers in the world, had walked into her room and changed everything. The crushing weight of financial panic that had been suffocating her for months had suddenly lifted. She could breathe again. But more than that, Reba had given her something Claire didn't even realize she'd lost. Hope. The possibility that life could be different, that dreams weren't just for other people, that maybe she deserved good things too. Claire picked up her phone and opened the voice memo app. She hadn't written a song in almost 2 years, but words and melody were suddenly flowing through her mind. In a whisper, she began to sing, recording the rough idea. In my darkest hour, when I'd lost my way, an angel walked in and taught me how to pray, not for riches, not for fame, just for the strength to try again. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start, a seed of something that could grow into something beautiful. As Claire drifted off to sleep, her leg still throbbing with pain, but her heart lighter than it had been in years, she made herself a promise. She would heal. She would work hard, and she would honor Reba's gift by becoming the person she was meant to be. She had no idea how much her life was about to change. The surgery took place on a crisp November morning. Dr. Foster and his team worked for 4 hours, meticulously realigning the bone fragments in Claire's femur and tibia, securing them with titanium plates and screws. When Claire woke in recovery, groggy and disoriented from anesthesia, the first thing she felt was pain. Different from before, sharper and more focused, but somehow more hopeful. This was healing pain, not damage pain. The surgery went beautifully, Dr. Foster told her that evening during his post-op check. Everything aligned perfectly. Barring any complications, you're looking at a full recovery. It'll take time and work, but you'll walk again, Claire. You'll walk without pain. The hospital kept her for 5 days to monitor for infection and ensure proper healing. During that time, Claire received cards from people she'd never met, nurses, staff members, even other patients who'd heard about her story. Jessica visited every day after work, bringing Claire's favorite snacks and magazines, catching her up on cafe gossip and neighborhood news. "Everyone at work is asking about you," Jessica said on day 3, perched on the edge of Claire's bed. "Danny said your job is waiting whenever you're ready to come back. Although obviously not as a waitress for a while. Maybe hosting or phones?" Danny Brennan owned the Morning Brew, and he'd been a good boss, understanding about Claire's scheduling challenges during her father's illness. But Claire knew that even with light duty work, she'd be making a fraction of what she needed. "I've been thinking," Claire said carefully, "about what happens next. I'll need months of physical therapy. I can't afford my half of rent, even with working part-time." "We'll figure it out," Jessica assured her. "My boyfriend's been staying over a lot anyway. He can help with rent for a while. Don't worry about money right now. Just focus on healing." But Claire couldn't stop worrying about money. It was a habit formed from years of scarcity. Even with the surgery paid for, she had other bills, other debts, and now no real income. On her last day in the hospital, a woman named Carol Jensen from the hospital's rehabilitation services came to discuss Claire's recovery plan. Carol was in her 60s, with short silver hair and the no-nonsense attitude of someone who'd spent decades helping people rebuild their lives. "You're going to need physical therapy 3 times a week for at least 3 months," Carol explained, showing Claire a thick folder of exercises and schedules. "The good news is, the anonymous donor who covered your surgery also arranged for your PT to be fully covered. You'll be working with one of our best therapists, Michael Chen." "Reba arranged for that too?" Claire asked, though she probably shouldn't have been surprised. Carol's expression suggested she knew exactly who the donor was, but wouldn't confirm it. "Your benefactor was very thorough. They want you to have the best possible chance at full recovery." Claire was discharged on a Thursday afternoon in mid-November. Jessica picked her up in her aging Toyota, helping Claire navigate from wheelchair to car with the crutches she'd be dependent on for the next several weeks. The drive back to their apartment in East Nashville took 15 minutes through streets dressed in autumn colors, leaves swirling in the wind. Their apartment was a modest 2-bedroom on the 2nd floor of a converted house. Getting up the stairs was an adventure that left Claire sweating and exhausted. But she finally made it to the couch where Jessica had prepared a nest of pillows and blankets. "Home, sweet home," Jessica declared. "I stocked the fridge, set up a bell you can ring if you need me, and cleared space on the coffee table for your medications and stuff. You're basically a princess now." "A princess with a broken leg and crushing debt," Claire laughed. Every little girl's dream. But despite the joke, Claire felt grateful to be home, in familiar surroundings, beginning the next phase of her recovery. The first 2 weeks were the hardest. Pain was constant, mobility was limited, and frustration came in waves. Claire spent her days on the couch, leg elevated, cycling through TV shows and social media, feeling useless and restless. The guitar sat in the corner of the living room, taunting her with possibility. Her first physical therapy session was on a Monday morning in early December. Jessica drove her to the facility, a modern building attached to the hospital complex. Michael Chen turned out to be a man in his early 30s with an infectious enthusiasm for his work and a refusal to accept excuses. "Okay, Claire, let's see what we're working with," he said, after introducing himself and reviewing her surgical records. "Fair warning, I'm going to push you. It's going to hurt sometimes. You're going to want to quit. But if you trust the process and do the work, I promise you'll be amazed at what your body can do." He was right about all of it. The exercises were grueling, pushing Claire's injured leg through ranges of motion that felt impossible. She cried during that first session, partly from pain and partly from frustration. But Michael was patient and encouraging, celebrating tiny victories and explaining the science behind each exercise. "See this movement?" he said, guiding her leg through a gentle bend. "A month ago, you couldn't have done this at all. You're already healing. You're already stronger than you think." Claire started going to PT 3 times a week, and slowly, incrementally, she began to improve. The exercises at home became easier. She graduated from wheelchair to crutches, from crutches to a cane, from constant pain to occasional discomfort. Her body was healing, and with it, something else began to heal too: her sense of self-worth. One evening in late December, about 6 weeks post-surgery, Claire was home alone. Jessica was at her boyfriend Tyler's place, and the apartment was quiet, except for the soft patter of rain against the windows. Claire had finished her PT exercises for the day and was resting on the couch, scrolling mindlessly through her phone when her eyes landed on the guitar in the corner. Reba's words echoed in her mind. "I want you to pick up that guitar and give your music a real shot." Almost without thinking, Claire reached for the instrument. It took some maneuvering to get comfortable with her still healing leg, but she managed to settle the guitar in her lap. She strummed a few chords, wincing at how out of tune it was. After adjusting the strings, she played through some old songs she'd written years ago, before life got complicated. Her voice was rusty at first, uncertain, but as she sang, something shifted. The words and melodies felt like coming home after a long exile. She played for an hour, then 2, losing herself in music for the first time in years. New song ideas came flooding in, lyrics about pain and healing, about kindness and second chances, about finding hope in unexpected places. She grabbed a notebook and started writing, filling pages with verses and choruses, melodies and bridge ideas. By the time Jessica came home around 11, Claire had written 3 complete songs and started 2 more. "Whoa," Jessica said, stopping in the doorway. "Is that what I think it is? Are you making music again?" Claire looked up, surprised to find her face wet with tears. She hadn't realized she was crying. "I think I am. It sounds beautiful. I forgot how incredible your voice is." Over the following weeks, music became Claire's therapy, as much as her physical exercises. She wrote every day, processing her experiences, the accident, the fear, Reba's kindness, the slow journey of healing, into songs that felt raw and honest. She recorded rough demos on her phone, playing them back and refining them. In mid-January, during a PT session, Michael mentioned something that caught Claire's attention. "My wife performs at this open mic night every couple months," he said, while helping Claire through a strength exercise. "It's at a place called the Bluebird Cafe. Maybe you've heard of it?" Claire nearly dropped the resistance band she was holding. The Bluebird Cafe was legendary in Nashville, a small venue where countless songwriters had been discovered, where the focus was on the music and the stories behind the songs. Yeah, I've heard of it," Claire managed. "I never had the courage to go. You should come check it out sometime. The next one is in 2 weeks. No pressure to perform or anything, just to watch. Although," Michael grinned, "I heard you singing while you were doing stretches last week. You've got a gift, Claire." The idea terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. Could she actually do it? Could she perform her songs in front of real people? In one of Nashville's most respected venues? That night, Claire called Jessica into her room. "I need your honest opinion about something." She played 2 of her new songs, Unexpected Angel, which was about Reba, and Broken into Beautiful, which was about her healing journey. Jessica listened with tears streaming down her face. "Claire, these are incredible," she said when the second song ended. "Like, genuinely incredible. You need to share these." "Michael invited me to an open mic at the Bluebird Cafe." "Oh my God, you have to do it." "I'm terrified." "Good. That means it matters. That means it's real." Jessica grabbed Claire's hands. "Listen to me. A woman who didn't know you from Adam paid for your surgery because she saw something special in you. She asked you to honor that gift by pursuing your music. This is how you do that. This is how you keep that promise." Claire knew Jessica was right. Fear wasn't a good enough reason to hide anymore. Over the next 2 weeks, Claire practiced obsessively. She worked with her physical therapist to ensure she could stand comfortably for the duration of a song. She rehearsed her 2 strongest pieces until she could perform them in her sleep. She even bought a new outfit, nothing fancy, but something that made her feel confident. Dark jeans, a burgundy blouse, and a leather jacket Jessica let her borrow. The night before the open mic, Claire lay in bed, running through every possible scenario. What if her voice cracked? What if people hated her songs? What if she fell trying to get on stage with her cane? But beneath the anxiety was something else. Excitement. For the first time in years, Claire felt like she was moving towards something instead of just surviving. She was taking control of her narrative, stepping into the possibility that Reba had helped create. She didn't know that attending this open mic would set in motion a series of events that would transform her life in ways she couldn't imagine. She didn't know that someone special would be in the audience. All she knew was that she was ready to try. The Bluebird Cafe sat unassumingly on a corner in Green Hills, a neighborhood southwest of downtown Nashville. From the outside, it looked like it could be any small restaurant. Modest brick exterior, simple signage, parking lot packed with cars. But inside those walls, magic happened regularly. This was where Garth Brooks had been discovered, where Taylor Swift had honed her craft, where countless songwriters had shared their stories and launched careers. Claire arrived an hour before the open mic was scheduled to begin, her stomach in knots. Jessica had driven her, providing moral support and helping carry Claire's guitar since she still needed her cane for stability. "You've got this," Jessica whispered as they approached the entrance. "Just remember to breathe." Inside, the Bluebird was intimate and warm, with capacity for maybe 90 people at small tables arranged in a listening room format. The walls were covered with photos and memorabilia from decades of performances. A small stage area held a single microphone and stool, lit by soft overhead lights. Michael Chen was already there with his wife Stephanie, a petite blonde woman with kind eyes and an easy smile. They waved Claire over to their table. "You made it," Michael said, standing to help Claire into her seat. "How's the leg feeling?" "Nervous, mostly," Claire admitted, "but physically okay. I practiced standing for the whole song duration." "That's my star patient," Michael grinned. "Stephanie, this is Claire Donovan. Claire, my wife Stephanie. She's performing tonight too." "Michael told me about your journey," Stephanie said, reaching across to squeeze Claire's hand. "I'm so glad you're here. Did you sign up for a slot?" Claire had, nervously adding her name to the performers list when they'd arrived. She'd been assigned the 8th spot out of 15, which felt both like a blessing, time to settle her nerves, and a curse, time to spiral into panic. As the room filled with people, Claire observed the crowd. It was a diverse mix of ages and styles, from college students to retirees, tourists to industry professionals. Everyone seemed to share a reverence for the space and what it represented. The open mic began promptly at 7. The host, a veteran Nashville songwriter named Robert Kane, explained the format. Each performer would get one song, roughly 4 minutes maximum. The audience was expected to listen respectfully. No talking, no phone calls, complete attention on the performer. The first performer was a young man with a pop country sound, singing about trucks and summer romance. He was competent, but forgettable. The second was a middle-aged woman with a powerful voice, performing a gospel-tinged ballad that brought chills. Stephanie went forth, delivering a witty, clever song about online dating that had the audience laughing and applauding enthusiastically. As Claire's turn approached, her anxiety intensified. Her palms were sweating. Her heart raced. The cane leaning against her chair felt like both a necessity and a liability, a visible reminder of her vulnerability. "7th performer of the evening," Robert announced. "Let's welcome Marcus Johnson with Carolina Rain." Claire froze. Marcus. The name sent her spiraling into doubt. What was she thinking, performing here? She was a waitress with a broken leg and second-hand guitar, surrounded by real musicians who'd been honing their craft while she'd been serving coffee and drowning in debt. Jessica, sitting beside her, seemed to read her mind. "Don't you dare," she whispered fiercely. "Don't you dare back out now. You belong here as much as anyone." Marcus's song ended to warm applause. Claire's moment had arrived. "Our 8th performer tonight," Robert's voice carried through the room, "is Claire Donovan. Let's show her some bluebird love." Claire stood, gripping her cane with one hand and her guitar case with the other. The walk to the stage felt impossibly long. Every eye in the room was on her, watching her navigate with obvious difficulty. She heard whispers, saw sympathetic expressions, and felt the weight of being seen in her brokenness. But then she reached the stage, settled onto the stool Robert positioned for her, and arranged her guitar in her lap. The room was quiet, waiting. Claire adjusted the microphone and looked out at the sea of faces, and her eyes caught on one face in particular. In the back corner, wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses despite being indoors, sat a woman who looked remarkably like Reba McEntire. Claire blinked, certain the stress was making her see things. But no, it was definitely her. Reba was here, in the Bluebird Cafe, watching Claire prepare to perform. Their eyes met across the room. Reba smiled and gave a small nod of encouragement. Something settled in Claire's chest. This wasn't about being perfect or impressive. This was about honoring a promise, about being honest, about sharing her truth through music. Reba had given her a gift, and this was how she would honor it, by being brave enough to be vulnerable. "Hi," Claire said into the microphone, her voice slightly shaky. "I'm Claire. This song is called Unexpected Angel, and it's about what happens when a stranger changes your life." She began to play, her fingers finding the familiar chord progression she'd practiced hundreds of times. The first verse spoke of darkness and despair, of feeling broken beyond repair. Her voice was soft at first, uncertain, but it grew stronger with each line. By the chorus, Claire was fully present in the music, singing from a place of deep gratitude. "You didn't have to stop, didn't have to care, but you saw me in my pain and met me there, with kindness that I couldn't comprehend, an unexpected angel, teaching me to live again." The second verse detailed the hospital room, the impossible bills, the crushing weight of financial despair. Claire sang about shame and fear, about the feeling of being invisible in a system that didn't value people without money. Her voice cracked with emotion, but she pushed through. The bridge built to a moment of revelation. "You gave more than money, more than medical care. You gave me back hope, showed me someone out there, could see past my circumstances to the person inside, reminded me my worth isn't measured by my pride." As Claire sang the final chorus, she looked directly at Reba, singing the words as a prayer of thanksgiving. The room was absolutely silent, except for her voice and guitar, every person completely absorbed in the story being told. The song ended with a simple, repeated line, "Thank you for seeing me." For a moment after the last note faded, there was complete silence. Claire's heart sank. Had it been terrible? Had she? The applause started suddenly and built like a wave, filling the small room with genuine, enthusiastic appreciation. People weren't just clapping politely, they were standing, some wiping tears from their eyes. Jessica was openly crying. Michael was grinning and applauding vigorously. And in the back corner, Reba was standing too, her sunglasses removed, tears visible on her cheeks, applauding with a radiant smile. "Thank you," Claire managed into the microphone, overwhelmed. "Thank you so much." She made her way back to the table in a daze, people touching her shoulder and offering congratulations as she passed. Jessica hugged her fiercely. "That was incredible," she whispered. "Claire, that was absolutely incredible." The rest of the open mic continued, but Claire barely processed it. Her mind was spinning with what had just happened. She'd done it. She'd performed her truth in front of strangers, in one of Nashville's most respected venues. And they'd responded. They'd heard her. They'd felt something. After the last performer finished, Robert returned to the microphone for closing remarks. "Thank you all for being here tonight, for sharing your music and your stories. That's what the Bluebird is all about. Authentic songwriting, genuine emotion, connecting through music. You all did that beautifully tonight." As people began to gather their things and make their way out, Claire noticed Reba moving through the crowd in her direction. Her heart started racing again. "Claire," Reba said, reaching the table. Up close, without the sunglasses, her eyes were warm and slightly misty. "That was absolutely beautiful. Your song, your voice, your courage, all of it. I'm so proud of you." "You came," Claire said, stating the obvious because her brain couldn't form more complex sentences. "You were here. I've been keeping tabs on your recovery through the hospital," Reba admitted. "When I heard you'd signed up for tonight, I couldn't stay away. I had to hear what you'd do with that promise I asked you to make. I hope I did it justice. You did more than that." Reba glanced at Jessica and the Chens, then back to Claire. "Can we talk privately for a minute? There's something I want to discuss with you." They moved to a quiet corner of the cafe, away from the thinning crowd. Reba's expression turned serious, but excited. Claire, I don't know if you're aware, but in 3 weeks, there's a talent competition here in Nashville called the Tennessee Star Showcase. It's a pretty big deal, 5 rounds over 5 weeks, with the winner getting a recording contract with an independent label, plus cash prizes and industry connections. Applications closed last week, but I happen to know some of the organizers. Claire's eyes widened. I've heard of it. It's really competitive. Professional-level stuff. You're professional level, Reba said firmly. What I just witnessed was a professional songwriter and performer sharing her craft. Claire, I want to use what little influence I have to get you a spot in that competition. One of the accepted performers just dropped out due to a family emergency. There's an opening. I think you should take it. I don't know if I'm ready for that. This was my first time performing in public since college. A competition with industry professionals watching? That's a completely different level. Exactly 1 month ago, you couldn't walk, Reba pointed out. You've already done impossible things. This is just the next impossible thing. And I believe you can do it. Claire thought about her father, who'd worked until his body gave out, never complaining, always pushing forward. She thought about the past 2 months of grueling physical therapy, of learning to walk again through sheer determination. She thought about the promise she'd made to honor Reba's gift by pursuing her music seriously. Okay, Claire heard herself say. Yes, I'll do it. Reba's face lit up. That's what I wanted to hear. I'll make some calls tomorrow. The first round is 3 weeks from tonight. You'll need to prepare 2 original songs for that round. And you should be ready with at least 2 more for subsequent rounds if you advance. They talked for another 20 minutes about the competition format, what to expect, and how to prepare. Reba gave Claire her personal phone number. Just for advice or encouragement, she said, and made Claire promise to take the preparation seriously. This is a real opportunity, Reba emphasized. The judges include talent scouts, producers, and label executives. People who can actually open doors for you. But you have to bring your A game. No holding back. By the time Claire and Jessica left the Bluebird that night, Claire's mind was reeling. She'd gone from too scared to perform to being entered in a major talent competition in the span of 3 hours. This is insane, Claire said, as Jessica drove them home through the Nashville night. This is completely insane. This is your life now, Jessica laughed. You better get used to it. Oh, and you're definitely buying dinner when you're rich and famous. I'll accept nothing less than steak. Over the next 3 weeks, Claire worked harder than she'd ever worked in her life. Her days became a carefully choreographed routine. Physical therapy in the mornings to continue strengthening her leg, songwriting and practice in the afternoons, and performance rehearsal in the evenings. She wrote 4 new songs and polished 3 older ones, creating a repertoire she could draw from. Michael adjusted her PT schedule to ensure she'd be strong enough to perform standing up if needed. Jessica helped her workshop the songs, offering honest feedback about lyrics and arrangements. Even Danny from the Morning Brew got involved, letting Claire perform at the cafe during slow afternoon hours to practice in front of small audiences. 2 weeks before the competition, Claire received an official email confirming her spot in the Tennessee Star Showcase. Reading it made everything feel suddenly, intensely real. This wasn't a dream or a maybe someday possibility. This was actually happening. The night before the first round of competition, Claire could barely sleep. Her leg ached from stress and overuse. Her mind cycled through worst-case scenarios. But beneath the anxiety was something else, a fierce determination that surprised her. She'd spent so many years playing small, accepting limitations, believing she didn't deserve more. But Reba had seen something in her worth investing in. The Bluebird audience had responded to her music. She'd survived a car crash, massive surgery, and months of painful recovery. If she could do all that, she could do this too. As dawn broke over Nashville, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Claire sat by her bedroom window with her guitar and played through her songs one more time. Her voice was strong and clear, her fingers confident on the strings, her heart ready for whatever came next. The first round of the Tennessee Star Showcase was that evening. Claire Donovan was ready to fight for her dreams. The Tennessee Star Showcase was held at the Ryman Auditorium, the legendary Mother Church of Country Music. Just walking into the building for rehearsal that afternoon, Claire felt the weight of history surrounding her. This stage had hosted everyone from Patsy Cline to Johnny Cash, from Dolly Parton to Reba McEntire herself. The first round featured 20 performers, each given 4 minutes to perform one original song. Claire had been assigned slot number 14. The format was straightforward. Perform your song, receive feedback from 3 judges, and wait for the elimination results announced at the end of the evening. Only 12 performers would advance to round 2. Backstage, Claire observed her competition. There was Brandon Hayes, a 24-year-old with a pop country sound and professionally produced demo tracks already circulating online. Rachel Montgomery was a powerful vocalist with years of classical training. Tyler Nash had a famous father in the industry and the polished confidence of someone who'd grown up around success. Claire, with her thrift store outfit and still healing leg, felt out of place. But then she remembered what Reba had told her on the phone 2 nights ago. You're not competing against them. You're competing for yourself. Tell your truth, sing your heart, and let the chips fall where they may. The show began at 7 p.m. The audience was substantial, several hundred people, including industry professionals, media, and general music lovers. Claire scanned the crowd from backstage and spotted Jessica in the 5th row, along with Michael and Stephanie. Danny from the cafe was there too, and several regular customers who'd heard about Claire's journey. And there, in a box seat on the 2nd level, partially obscured but unmistakable, sat Reba McEntire. The first performer was a young woman named Amy Wilson, with a beautiful folk rock sound. The judges, including renowned producer Jackson Miller, label executive Catherine Hayes, and music journalist David Park, offered measured praise and constructive criticism. Amy's performance was strong, confident, likely to advance. Claire watched each subsequent performance with increasing nervousness. These were talented people with trained voices and professional presentation. What chance did she have? Claire Donovan? A stage manager appeared at her elbow. You're up in 3 performers. Please head to the stage right wings. Claire made her way to the designated area, guitar in hand, cane left behind at her seat. Her leg was strong enough now to stand for the duration of one song, though it would ache afterward. She'd decided to perform Broken into Beautiful, the song about her healing journey. It felt more universal than Unexpected Angel, more likely to connect with people who didn't know her backstory. The 13th performer finished to enthusiastic applause. Claire's heart hammered against her ribs. Ladies and gentlemen, the host announced, our next performer is Claire Donovan with an original song titled Broken into Beautiful. Claire walked onto the Ryman stage, actually walked on that sacred ground, and settled onto the stool they'd positioned center stage. The lights were warm on her face, the audience a dark mass beyond the stage glow. She adjusted her guitar, took a breath, and began. The song opened with a delicate finger-picking pattern, Claire's voice soft and vulnerable. They say that pressure makes diamonds, but all I felt was pain, metal in my bones and thunder in my veins. The X-rays showed the fractures, the mirror showed the fear, but somewhere in the breaking, something became clear. The chorus built with intensity. I'm broken into beautiful, shattered into strong. Every piece that fell apart taught me where I belong. The cracks let in the light. The scars tell me I'm real. I'm broken into beautiful. And finally, I can feel. The second verse detailed her emotional journey, the shame of poverty, the weight of debt, the moment of surrender when she thought she'd lost everything. Claire sang with complete honesty, holding nothing back. I learned that rock bottom's got a basement floor below, where pride dissolves and all you've got is hope's faint glow. But hands reached through the darkness, pulled me toward the day, showed me that my worthiness was never mine to weigh. The bridge was the song's emotional climax, Claire's voice powerful and clear. So thank you to the breaking, thank you to the fall, thank you to the kindness of strangers through it all. Every no led to a yes I didn't see before. Every closed window revealed a wide-open door. As Claire sang the final chorus, she looked up toward where she knew Reba was sitting, channeling every ounce of gratitude and determination into her performance. I'm broken into beautiful, shattered into strong. Every piece that fell apart taught me where I belong. The cracks let in the light. The scars tell me I'm real. I'm broken into beautiful. And this is how I heal. The last note faded into absolute silence. For a heartbeat, Claire feared the worst. Then the Ryman Auditorium erupted. The applause was thunderous, reverberating through the historic venue. People were on their feet. Not just polite standing, but genuine, enthusiastic response. Claire saw tears on faces in the front rows, saw people nodding and clapping with real emotion. The judges were standing too, all three of them, applauding with what looked like sincere appreciation. Claire stood carefully, mindful of her leg, and bowed slightly before making her way off stage. Her hands were shaking, her heart racing, but something inside her felt settled and right. She'd done it. She'd shared her truth on one of music's most sacred stages, and people had heard her. The judges' feedback came after all 20 performers had finished. One by one, artists returned to the stage to hear critiques. When Claire's turn came, she walked out to face the panel. Jackson Miller, the producer, spoke first. Claire, I'm going to be honest with you. When you walked out with that slight limp, I made assumptions. I thought maybe this was a sympathy story, someone who'd been through something hard and wanted their moment. But about 10 seconds into your song, I forgot all of that. What you did up there was masterful songwriting. The specificity of your imagery, the emotional honesty, the way you built from vulnerability to strength, that's professional-level craft. Your voice has a quality that's both fragile and powerful. It's distinctive. It's memorable. That was really special. Catherine Hayes, the label executive, nodded in agreement. I want to echo what Jackson said. In this industry, we hear a lot of songs about overcoming obstacles, about being broken and becoming strong. It's a common theme. But you made it feel fresh, made it feel personal and universal at the same time. That's the mark of a real songwriter. Your performance had authenticity that can't be manufactured. I was genuinely moved, and I don't say that lightly. David Park, the journalist, leaned forward. Claire, can I ask about the limp? Is there a story there that informed this song? Claire took a breath. Yes. 2 months ago, I was in a serious car accident. My leg was shattered in multiple places. I needed surgery I couldn't afford because I didn't have adequate insurance and was already in medical debt from my father's cancer treatment. Someone, a stranger who became an angel, paid for everything and gave me a second chance. This song is about that journey, about learning that being broken doesn't mean being destroyed, that sometimes we have to fall apart to become who we're meant to be." The audience responded with spontaneous applause. David nodded thoughtfully. That vulnerability, that willingness to share your genuine experience, hold on to that. In a world of manufactured personas, authenticity is your superpower. Thank you for sharing your story through your music. The elimination results were announced at the end of the evening. Claire's name was called fourth among the 12 advancing performers. She'd made it through. Round 1 was complete. Over the next 4 weeks, Claire advanced through each subsequent round of the competition. Round 2 featured 12 performers doing 2 songs each. Claire performed "Unexpected Angel" and a new song she'd written called "Learning to Stand," which traced both her physical and emotional recovery. 8 performers advanced. Round 3 was themed. Performers had to do 1 original and 1 cover song that influenced their musical style. Claire chose Reba's "The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia," which earned a knowing smile from Reba in the audience and a standing ovation from the crowd. 5 performers advanced to the semifinals. The semifinal round pushed Claire to her limits. Each performer had to do a 15-minute set, showcasing range and stage presence. Claire performed 4 songs, including one she'd written specifically for this round called "Nashville Nights," about the city that had broken her heart and then healed it. 3 performers would advance to the finals. When Claire's name was announced as one of the finalists, alongside Brandon Hayes and Rachel Montgomery, she felt simultaneously elated and terrified. The final round would be the following week, a full 30-minute set before a packed Ryman auditorium and live streamed to thousands online. The week before, finals was intense. Claire rehearsed constantly, working with Michael to ensure her leg could handle an extended performance. Jessica helped her choose an outfit, a midnight blue dress that was elegant but not overdone, paired with cowboy boots that honored Nashville's country roots. Reba called twice with encouragement and advice. "Don't try to be perfect," Reba counseled. "The audience doesn't want perfection. They want connection. They want to feel something real. You've given them that in every round. Trust yourself to do it again." The night of the finals arrived cold and clear. A mid-January evening with stars visible over Nashville's skyline. Claire arrived at the Ryman 3 hours early for sound check and rehearsal. The energy backstage was electric. Camera crews, reporters, industry executives, and nervous performers all moving through organized chaos. Claire was scheduled to perform second, between Brandon and Rachel. The format was simple. Each finalist would perform a 30-minute set of original music. Then the judges would deliberate and announce the winner. Brandon Hayes went first, delivering a polished, professional set of radio-friendly country pop songs. His voice was strong, his stage presence confident, his songs well-crafted if somewhat generic. The audience responded warmly, and the judges nodded approvingly. He was good, really good, and he knew it. Then it was Claire's turn. She walked onto the stage to enthusiastic applause, settling onto the stool that had become familiar over the past weeks. Her guitar felt like an extension of herself now, her voice strong and ready. "Good evening," she said into the microphone. "Thank you all for being here. Tonight, I want to take you on a journey. It's my journey, but I hope you'll see pieces of your own story in it too. Because I think we're all broken in our own ways, and we're all learning how to become beautiful through those cracks." She began with "Learning to Stand," the song about her physical recovery that served as a metaphor for emotional resilience. The audience was immediately engaged, quiet and attentive. Claire moved through her setlist with growing confidence. "Broken into Beautiful," "Nashville Nights," "Unexpected Angel," and 3 new songs she'd written specifically for this performance. One of those new songs, "Thank You for the Breaking," was perhaps the most personal thing she'd ever written. It acknowledged her father's death, her poverty, her accident, all the pain she'd endured, but framed them as teachers rather than tragedies. Thank you for the breaking that taught me how to bend. Thank you for the endings that led to new begins. Thank you for the falling that showed me I could rise. Thank you for the darkness that opened up my eyes. As Claire sang, she noticed Reba in the box seat, openly crying. She saw Jessica and her friends holding hands, completely absorbed. She saw strangers in the audience with tears streaming down their faces, nodding along to lyrics that spoke to their own pain and healing. For her final song, Claire had chosen to perform a brand new piece she'd finished just 2 days earlier. It was called Full Circle, and it was about the moment when you realize that everything you've been through, all the suffering and struggle, has led you exactly where you need to be. I used to think that broken was the end of my story, thought the scars would be my only claim to glory. But standing here tonight, I finally understand that broken was the beginning, not the end. Every fall was a lesson in how to rise again. Every no paved the road toward yes, my friend. The circle's coming closed, but it's wider than before. I'm standing at the ending that's really just a door. The final note hung in the air for a perfect moment before the Ryman Auditorium exploded with applause. The standing ovation was immediate and sustained, people cheering and whistling, the sound washing over Claire in waves. She stood carefully, bowed deeply, and felt tears streaming down her own face. She'd done it. She'd shared her whole heart, her whole story, her whole self, and the audience had embraced it all. Rachel Montgomery performed last, delivering a technically flawless set of powerful ballads that showcased her incredible vocal range. She was undeniably talented, clearly trained, and the judges seemed impressed. Then came the deliberation. The 3 finalists waited backstage while the judges conferred. 30 minutes felt like 30 hours. Claire's leg ached from the extended performance, but her spirit felt lighter than it had in years. Whatever happened next, she'd already won. She'd kept her promise to Reba. She'd honored her father's memory by refusing to give up. She'd become the person she was meant to be. Finally, the finalists were called back to the stage. The host, veteran Nashville performer Linda Carter, stood center stage with an envelope. "This has been an incredible competition," Linda announced to the packed auditorium. "These 3 artists have shown us what authentic songwriting looks like, what vulnerability in performance means, what it takes to truly connect with an audience." The judges had a difficult decision, but they were ultimately unanimous in their choice. Claire's heart pounded. She held Jessica's hand in the front row of her mind, drew strength from Reba's presence, and prepared herself for whatever came next. The winner of this year's Tennessee Star Showcase, recipient of a recording contract with Meridian Records, $25,000 in prize money, and representation by Atlas Management Company, is... Linda paused for effect, and Claire could barely breathe. Claire Donovan. For a moment, Claire couldn't process the words. Then Jessica's scream from the audience cut through her shock, and reality hit. She'd won. She'd actually won. Brandon and Rachel were gracious, hugging her and offering congratulations even through their own disappointment. Claire accepted the award in a daze, barely able to form coherent sentences. "I don't even know what to say," she managed into the microphone, her voice shaking. "3 months ago, I was lying in a hospital bed thinking my life was over. I thought I'd never walk right again, never have a chance at my dreams, never be anything more than my circumstances. But someone showed me kindness when I needed it most, reminded me that I was worth investing in, gave me a second chance at life. This award isn't just mine. It belongs to everyone who believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. Thank you. Thank you so much." The audience erupted again, and Claire saw Reba making her way down from the box seat, moving through the crowd toward the stage. Later, after the cameras had stopped rolling and most of the crowd had dispersed, Claire found herself in a quiet corner backstage with Reba. "I am so proud of you," Reba said, pulling Claire into a warm embrace. "You took the gift I gave you, the surgery, the second chance, and you turned it into something extraordinary. You didn't just heal your leg, Claire. You healed your spirit. You found your voice. You became exactly who you were meant to be." "I couldn't have done any of this without you," Claire said, tears flowing freely. "You saved my life in every way a person can be saved." "No," Reba shook her head gently. "I just removed an obstacle. You did the work. You faced the fear. You got up on that stage, night after night, and shared your heart with the world. That was all you, sweetheart. That courage, that talent, that authenticity. That's who you are." They talked for a long time about what came next. The recording contract meant Claire would begin work on an album in February. The management company would help navigate her career development. The prize money would pay off her remaining medical debt and give her a financial cushion for the first time in her adult life. "What about the cafe?" Claire asked suddenly. "Danny's been so good to me. I can't just abandon him." Reba smiled. "Something tells me Danny will understand. But that's the kind of person you are, Claire. Thinking about others even in your moment of triumph. Don't lose that. The industry can make people hard and cynical. Stay soft. Stay grateful. Stay you." As Claire finally left the Ryman that night, walking out into the Nashville darkness with her award, her guitar, and a future that suddenly stretched wide and bright before her, she thought about the journey that had brought her here. A car accident that should have destroyed her had instead redirected her. A broken leg had taught her about resilience. Crushing debt had revealed the kindness of strangers. Rock bottom had become the foundation for rebuilding. And a chance encounter with Reba McEntire, a moment of grace she'd never forget, had reminded her that she deserved good things, that her dreams were valid, that she was worthy of investment and belief. Jessica was waiting by the car, practically vibrating with excitement. "Claire Donovan, winner of the Tennessee Star Showcase." "Oh my God. I'm never going to get tired of saying that." Claire laughed, hugging her best friend fiercely. "None of this feels real. Well, you better get used to it, because this is your life now. You're going to record an album. You're going to perform on real stages. You're going to be an actual professional musician." As they drove through Nashville toward home, Claire looked out at the city that had tested her, broken her, and ultimately rebuilt her into something stronger. The Broadway lights glittered in the distance. The honky-tonks pulsed with music. The river reflected the stars. 1 month ago, she'd been a waitress with a shattered leg and shattered dreams. Tonight, she was a recording artist with a promising future and a story worth telling. The circle was complete, but it wasn't really an ending. It was, as her final song had declared, just a door. An opening into a life she'd always dreamed of, but never quite believed she could have. Claire pulled out her phone and sent a text to Reba. "Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for teaching me that broken can become beautiful. I promise to honor this gift every single day." The response came quickly. "You already have, sweetheart. Now go shine. The world needs your light." Claire Donovan smiled, put away her phone, and looked ahead at the road stretching before her, full of possibility, bright with promise, and entirely her own to travel. She was ready.